Hi everyone, it's Jason here, and I'm going to take you through a video that talks through the ideas around character strengths. You would have recently completed the VIA Institute on Character's Character Strengths survey, and hopefully you've written down somewhere, you've got a note of your top 5 character strengths. So this stuff is all based on the work of Martin Seligman and Christopher Peterson, two very well-known positive psychologists. If you haven't already done the survey, head to the VIA Institute on Character and do that survey now before you watch the video. So, what can we learn about ourselves from doing this character strengths survey? Hopefully you've got your 5 written down somewhere. Let's run through what those strengths mean. So they kind of fall under a bunch of broad categories, and we've got those listed there, and I'll whiz through them quickly. We've got strengths that fall under the category of wisdom, and you can see there a lot of those are based around creativity and learning. We've got strengths based around courage, which are about your ability to kind of take on life's challenges. We've got strengths around humanity, which are all about your social connectedness and the way that you interact with other people. We've got strengths around justice, which are your sense of fairness. And we've got strengths around temperance or restraint, which are about your ability to kind of regulate yourself. And lastly, we have strengths around the idea of transcendence or kind of beyond normal experience. This is kind of about how you notice things in the world and you know, how you get kind of something extra out of life. So what do your strengths teach you? If you want to have a look at some more details around this, you can go to the University of Toronto and they give you much more information about building your strengths and a guide to your strengths if you'd like to dig into that. So what do you notice about you? Do your strengths fall under certain categories? For me, I noticed that a bunch of my top 10 were under that transcendence category. So obviously that's, held me in good stead, I guess, ability to kind of see the beauty and the joy in life and notice the simple things or enjoy the simple things in life. So are there any trends that you notice about your top 5 or your top 10? And I guess what we really want you to do is think about how you can use these strengths to your advantage. Some of these strengths could come in handy in all kinds of ways. So I'm going to go through a few really key factors in somebody's overall well-being and how some strengths might tap into that. So first of all, contentment, happiness. This is a core thing, with any sense of well-being, we want to feel contented. And some of the strengths like zest, hope, and love are really key strengths for that feeling of contentment. So if you've got any of those in your top 10 or top 5, how could you draw on those? Your sense of hope might help you get through difficult times. Your sense of love might help you feel connected to other people. And speaking of being connected to other people, relationships, obviously a massive part of somebody's well-being. Recognizing and appreciating character strengths of those around you will help you improve your relationships. But also, how do your top character strengths help you with relationships? It might be that your sense of fairness means that you're willing to give everybody a go, or it might be that your curiosity or love of learning helps you kind of understand others or want to know more about them. Dealing with problems, or what we would call resilience, is a massive part of our well-being. So knowing and embracing your character strengths will help you build resilience, help you understand what you can do to solve problems, and buffer you from the vulnerabilities that can lead to mental health issues. So what is in your top 5, and how can you use that to deal with life's problems? For me, one of my top 5 was humor. And I guess, there's always a fine line with something like humor, but being able to see the lighter side can help decrease stress, and it can help you more effectively kind of deal with your issues in a healthy way. So that's one example. Self-esteem is a really big one. Use your character strengths to your advantage, and it'll give you a sense of achievement, which will lead to higher levels of self-esteem. An example of this might be drawing on a character strength like bravery, to do things that you never thought you were capable of doing, or to take a risk that pays off and makes you feel really good about yourself. So we've talked a bit about some of the key character strengths and some of the ways that they can really help you. Now I'd like to talk a bit about when we overplay our strengths. And this is a nice way to reframe our thinking. If we do something wrong or if we make a mistake, obviously that's something that we've got to try and fix or work on. But often we just get into this trap of getting down on ourselves and saying, oh, it's because I'm, this kind of person, or I'm no good at this kind of thing. What we can do is kind of reframe those thoughts as us just overplaying a strength. So some examples here. Maybe my strength is perseverance. And when I'm stressed, I get organized. And because of the stress, maybe I overplay that strength and it turns into micromanaging or nitpicking or being a bit bossy or anally retentive. Maybe I push too far with the plans and the schedules. So really, that's just me overplaying my perseverance strength. And if you're aware of that, you might be able to kind of dial it back a bit and go, okay, well, I know I'm good at this. Let me just make sure I'm kind of turning it up to 9 or 10 instead of turning it way up to 11. Maybe my strength is humor, as I mentioned earlier. But what happens when the strength like that gets overplayed? Maybe it turns into sarcasm or not taking things seriously enough. And if that puts people offside, you might think, okay, well, I probably just overplayed that strength in that situation. Or maybe my strength is appreciation of beauty and excellence. So, for example, when you're stressed, you might struggle to finish things because you want them to be perfect. You're engaging your strength, you're just turning the volume up a bit too high. So have a think about that the next time that you're maybe struggling with something or having an issue with a relationship or a task. Maybe you're just overplaying one of your strengths, and if you dial it back a little bit, you might find that you're able to conquer. So in every situation, you're engaging your strengths. You might just be turning the volume up too high in some situations. So what do we do? Now that we know our strengths, you can practice them, you can use them, but you can also practice recognizing when you're overplaying them, and you can turn the volume down a little on that strength when you need to. So hopefully by acknowledging and embracing your strengths, by having that list in your mind of those top 5 or top 10, you can kind of reframe your negative thoughts and feelings and understand them as overplayed strengths. And that can be a really powerful tool. So to finish, I might use an example that kind of applies to all of us. Everybody procrastinates. Everybody does it in different ways to different degrees. So here's an example of 5 strengths that you can utilize to help get things done. And you might find that one of these 5 are in your list. So you could use your perspective to break the task down into small manageable chunks. Okay, step back and analyze, what can I do here? Small steps to achieve the goal. You could use your teamwork skills to bring people together to get the job done. You could use your self-regulation, if that's a strength of yours, to book in time with yourself to get it done, and then reward yourself afterwards. If you're good at regulating your behavior like that, you'll stick to it. If hope is one of your key strengths, you might use that to visualize how relieved and satisfied you'll feel once the task is complete, and that'll motivate you to get things done. Or you might use your bravery to step out of your comfort zone and throw yourself straight into the task. So you can see that if you pick up on your strengths here and pay attention to them, you can use them to overcome things like procrastination or other challenges that you might face. So it might be a great idea at the end of this video for you to think for a second, when is a situation when I've overplayed a strength? And what could I have done to turn it down a little bit and succeed at whatever that stressor was in your life? And also, when was a situation when I've procrastinated or put something off? When could I utilize one of my strengths? Or how could I have utilized one of my strengths to get that thing done? So I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've had a bit of a chance to reflect on your strengths and how you can make the most of them. Thanks for listening.